How can you get a pops and bangs tune on your car, and what are the effects on your engine and exhaust system if you do get a pops and bangs tune? Guys, it's Mr. Patrick here, back with another video on this Nissan G37, and today I still have a computer box or ECU in my hands. We're going to be talking about pops and bangs, which is that loud sound that you hear coming from the exhaust of some performance cars. And also, what are the effects if you put that on your car, as far as what happens to your engine, and also what happens to your exhaust system when you have that kind of tune on your car. So let me quickly explain to you guys what is happening when you hear a car making those pops and bangs. So when your car comes in from the manufacturer, it basically has a setting on the ECU that makes sure that when fuel is injected and the ignition timing is set, it makes sure that it burns as much fuel, not exactly all the fuel, but it tries to be as precise as possible to make sure that you're burning all the fuel that goes into the engine, to just make sure that you're making the most power for every drop of fuel that you get. But when your tuner goes ahead and puts a pops and bangs tune, what's happening is you're adding more fuel to the system, and also you are retarding the timing. And what that does is it leaves an amount of fuel that goes out into your exhaust, and because your exhaust is hot, that ends up causing the little fuel that has left your engine without being burnt to cause an explosion in the hot exhaust when it meets the oxygen as it is trying to exit out of the exhaust. So basically it's taking more fuel, adding it to the engine, and then retarding the timing so that not all the fuel is burnt, and then that fuel that's not burnt ends up going out into the exhaust. The first time this was used was in racing applications. That was for, you know, things like trying to cool down the engine, because adding more fuel would cool down the engine by a few degrees. And also it is used for what they call anti-lag. So that's basically using extra fuel in the engine when you lift your leg off the throttle, dropping in more fuel, and that fuel would explode, causing the turbo to continue spinning. So even if your leg is off the throttle, you get your turbo continuously spinning, and that would allow that when you get back on the power, you have that turbo already spooled up and you are able to get the car to pick up much quicker. So that's what it was used for. But now everybody who gets a performance car like this one, or even, you know, cars like the Mark X, the Lexus IS 250s and 350s, they can be able to, you know, tune the ECU and get yourself some pops and bangs. So quickly, let's talk about some of the effects that come with having a pops and bangs tune on your car. The first one of which, obviously, you're going to get a higher fuel consumption, because instead of burning that fuel efficiently, now we're just dumping fuel in the system, so that we have that extra fuel that goes out and creates those pops and bangs. So definitely, if you get a pops and bangs tune on your car, you are going to experience a higher fuel consumption. The second thing that this would affect is obviously your exhaust system, because now that you're introducing pops and bangs into the exhaust system where they're not supposed to be happening, and on standard cars they actually do happen, but not at the rate at which it comes in when you do the tune. So it's normal for the exhaust to have, you know, some pops and bangs. That's why even when you get a normal car like you know, your Mark X or your IS 250, it has pops and bangs going on, but because you have a muffler at the back and a catalytic converter in the middle, normally you don't get to hear the sound. So pretty much every car, even, you know, a car like this Toyota Vanguard, there's some pops and bangs going on, but because you actually have a muffler at the back here, you normally won't get the sound. You will get, you know, damage to your exhaust and premature wear on even some engine components, because also pops and bangs do cause some back pressure in the system. So because the, you know, explosion is not happening in the engine where it's supposed to, you end up having the explosion happening in the exhaust, and sometimes that could cause back pressure and if you don't allow your car to breathe, you continuously keep getting on the pops and bangs, that could cause a problem, build back pressure to your engine, and eventually cause catastrophic failure. And also your exhaust system, if it wasn't built for pops and bangs, you could end up having exhaust leaks in different places and even literally melting it in some cases. Another thing that you will experience is that you increase the risk of detonation. So basically, when you are adding more fuel into the system that's not getting burnt, then you find yourself in a situation where if the engine gets too hot, you have a higher risk of detonation. And basically what detonation is fuel exploding before the time that it is supposed to explode. And that could cause your engine to actually experience what is called knock. And when your engine knocks, everybody knows that that is a terrible thing. You end up having to replace your engine or have a very expensive repair on your car. So if you don't get a professional to do your pops and bangs tune, you could end up with a situation where your car ends up getting pre-detonation, and with that pre-detonation can cause catastrophic failure, and you end up having to replace your engine or have a very expensive repair. Another thing I wanted us to talk about is a straight pipe exhaust, but I can't give this as an example because it's a bit too low. But right here is a Toyota Vanguard. Let me show you the muffler setup that we have here. So basically right under there you can see that this has a catalytic converter at the front, a muffler in the middle, and another section that muffles here at the back. So basically what happens when you go ahead and straight pipe a car, you take all these pieces that reduce the sound coming from the engine, and you make it a straight pipe essentially. So can you get pops and bangs on any car? Yes and no. So every car is made different. Each ECU has certain things that you can do to it and certain things that you can't. So cars like this G37 has a very wide aftermarket range of tunes that you can put for pops and bangs, increasing the performance and stuff like that. Another thing you need to remember is that every pops and bangs tune and every exhaust setup is different. So if you get a pops and bangs tune on this Infiniti G37, which is a naturally aspirated V6 engine with which is a 3.7 liter, you have a very different sound and experience with the pops and bangs as compared to, for example, something like the BMW M4 that we have here, which actually comes built in from the factory with a pops and bangs tune, but it sounds very different from the way the one that is installed on this one sounds. So it depends on the setup of the exhaust, the type of engine that you have. That's what determines the sound that you will get for your pops and bangs. Alright, that was a quick video about pops and bangs. I hope somebody has learned something about pops and bangs. So if you're planning to do pops and bangs tune on your car, you can bring it out here to TuneX. And also, if you want to support the content that I put out on this platform, you can like and share. And also remember, we're restocking on Z-Gear stickers and t-shirts, and you can also grab those as well. Also helps support the content. But thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you on the next video.